All right, monkeys, here we go with our second episode of the Ghost Town build out. And yeah, we're still continuing here on the pre-show, quote unquote, area of the ride for the mine train ride there. And again, keeping up with the same aesthetic, right? Building out the different wood pieces. Now, it looks so different. This is what I think is great. And if you look at the coloring here compared to what we did in the the mining area where we built out our GCI Woody and we built out our river rapids, you know, it definitely has a completely different feel. And the colors definitely give it that. You know, you look at that pale pink, you look at the pale wood color, we contrast it with the black as a good border, and it gives a lot of variety and feeling to what we're trying to create. And again, keeping in mind, what are we doing, right? We're building it from the inside out, so being mindful of your facades, and then finally the roofing to go over it. Now here we are throwing in some brickwork as the base, and this is something you'll see in a lot of pre-industrial / industrial, post-industrial, early industrial, architecture, where you'll have brickwork on the bottom and woodwork on the top. This is very common, so we wanted to keep that moving forward. Now for this part where the train drops in, I was thinking, how can we make this so that our guests, once they're in that train station, they go down and they drop into this drop, how do we completely change the feeling? Well, what I did was I threw up a wall there, and the guests basically enter into the village, the ghost town, through that opening there. It's like going through like a time tunnel. That's what we'll think of it as being a time tunnel, right? And again, thinking about it from the facade standpoint on the outside, like what is it going to look like? So I started developing this particular portion here when I built out, obviously, the roof work. And I was like, okay, well, what do we make this facade look like and this exterior look like, right? Because we want this to be the first part coming off of our central weenie and our castle area. This is going to be the first introduction that our guest has to this area, right? So it's going to be like a teaser off to the left. And then they're going to walk through what we're going to create in the next episode. I believe it's the next episode, actually. But in the next episode, where we work on that lakefront, we're going to create a nice walkway for our guests to come through. Again, really announcing, you're going into a Wild West themed ghost town here. I look at how great that looks, right? And, one of the bigger things that I wanted to think about as I was doing this is like, what is it going to look like from a guest perspective? That's what you see. I'm so close in right now. Like, I really wanted to identify, what does that guest perspective look like on both sides of this facade? And that was something there I did too. It was a little different, throwing the brickwork on top. I thought that looked pretty cool. Now you'll notice a lot of the older buildings, they have that roof work and then that flat front. That's very indicative of this particular style of architecture. And I love what I did there. I threw that wall up there and kind of curved it out. So it really doesn't even look like there is an open space there. And I thought that was pretty cool. Now, again, what I keep getting asked is, again, first off, somebody said it looks so clean. I thank you for that remark. That really is the intention here. I want to hit every single aspect, right? The goal is no area unturned, right? So I'm consistently flipping the camera and spinning it around and making sure that not only from my perspective, but also from that guest perspective, that every single facet of the area is fully completed. Oh, I love this part here. So what I decided to do is I wanted to mimic that bridge that we did over in the mining area. I wanted to create some consistency in that theming, which ties the two areas together. So thinking about like as you're walking through this queue and you're going through, you walk into that main building and then you walk out of it after you walk through that theming and you walk under this trellis work, this train bridge, quote unquote, and you have the train that passes right over. I thought this was a really great idea, a very good way to close off the queue area. Now, again, looking at this particular area here, I was like, okay, well, how do I close this off without making it look too fake? And this is where I started running into that challenge of no depth perception, not force perspective, sorry. No depth perception. It's very difficult for me to identify exactly where I was putting wall pieces and facades and whatnot. So just something to keep in mind as well as you're building out your areas. If you are building out these three-dimensional buildings, you know, where your edges are and where, you know, the sides of your buildings are and the walls that you're putting in. See here, like I ran into that issue where I couldn't figure out like where the roofs were, so I had to, you know, keep going back and forth and delete and make, delete and re-put and delete and re-put, right? Now for this here, I wanted to throw up just very simple. I put, you know, our quarter wall in. I threw in some cacti and some bushes. Again, just to keep it very clean. I didn't want it to feel too heavy with too much theming, but again, I wanted it to have some sort of greenery and foliage around there, because we're going to close this entire area in with a forest. And again, that was the intention from point one. Love what I do here now. So, as you probably have seen in the thumbnail picture, you know, I start putting out the border here for all of this. And then I'm looking at it and I'm going, what's next? Oh, wait, pause, rewind. We're not there yet, so I'm not going to slip that secret out. Here we're going to finish up the rest of this queue. And again, just the same thing over and over, right? We're keeping in mind of, you know, what our guest experience is looking like as they're walking through this queue. And then being that this is the entryway area, or the first impression that our guests are getting, I wanted to throw in another actor over here, or entertainer, with a little bit of scenery, so it helps drive that excitement rating and increases the overall guest's impression of what that area is going to look like. So we threw a sheriff in there in front of, you know, the little stand where they hang people. All right, so here's the part I was talking about, what gets me excited. So I had this open space. I've had this idea for a while. I wanted to create a barnstormer. I visited Dollywood this past October, and I was very, very lucky to visit Dollywood, to be honest with you. And I went on a ride there called Barnstormer. Completely not the same ride. But I had this idea because of Dollywood, right? So you've got this Intamin shuttle launch coaster, inverted shuttle launch coaster, right? Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. And here we have it shooting back and forth. I'm like, well, okay, it's got planes on it. Let's take that whole barnstormer idea and actually build out a barn. So one thing that you'll see as you're driving through Arizona into Southern California is it goes from this like desert area to this like mountainous green area with farms and, you know, cows and cattle and horses. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Again, California is the weirdest country because I've never seen so many different environments in one area, right? So we create this farm basically here with the Barnstormer ride, which I thought was pretty cool. We bordered it out with a white picket fence. We throw in the lemon trees and the orange trees. And again, we just create a different feel. And that's the whole point of this, right? You want to have all engulfing environments for your guests. I think this happens in every single theme park. Let me rephrase that. The intention is to have this happen in every single theme park, where you go into a ride area and you're just engulfed by this environment, right? You don't see that in every theme park, unfortunately. It is a sad state of affairs, if you ask me. But as we build this out, I digress. As you see, we've got the candy apple red walls going up in the wooden cladding. And again, it's the same wood we used for our mining area and for our Wild West area, right? Throw a different color on it, and it's like, wow, you don't even get that vibe, get that feeling. And that's the intention. We throw up the gray roof tiles. Why? Because we like to. No, because we wanted to have that red and white feel. Now, this is something I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's a way to make it look red and white by using the wood pieces or by using any of the pre-made pieces in the game? You know, obviously not making anything on our own, right? That's not what we want to do. We want to use what's already in the game. So I'll leave that up to you guys. If you have any ideas or anything to suggest, let me know. I'm here. Coaster Monkey Studios on Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, Twitter. I can keep going down the list, but you get the idea. I also now have an RCT Go and a Discord as well. I should probably throw all those links up going forward down in the description. I'm going to put those links in all of my descriptions just so you guys have them, all of my different stuff. You can also get it actually on my main page up at the top. You can link up with me as well. I've got all of my links for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot up top on the main page for my YouTube. So yeah, so that's the overall picture there. That, just a pause there for you to see what that looked like. I mean, it looks great, the direction that we're going. So now for this part here, I realized I didn't have any food outlets. I was like, oh no, what did I do? So what I decided to do here was create one massive food area. And the idea is you're walking through this ghost town, right? So you want to have that enclosed feeling as you're walking through this ghost town. So on the outer rim are all the buildings that we create there. We create this food court center in the middle, right, with access from 3 different areas. So this way the flow of traffic is consistent and there's no issues with our guests lagging. And then we build out the facades all the way around with the roof just along the facade. And then we build out the roof on top. Now the whole idea again is that layering. Start at the base and work your way up. Oh, I just slapped my hands pretty loud there. Start at the base, work yourself up, right? So I started with the path, and then I went to the concession stands. From the concession stands, I went to the borders and the benches and the garbage pails. And now I'm throwing in maintenance people, and now I'm building out the walls to be built around, and then finally I'll build up the ceiling. And there I am forgetting to put in a not maintenance guy, you know what I mean, that guy, the guy with the yellow hat, whatever his name is, whatever he does. Not maintenance. He's not maintenance. What is he? Oh, it's gonna irk me now. Construction worker? No, it's not a construction worker. What is he? Why am I drawing a blank? He's not a construction worker. He is a guy that fixes the rides. I can't remember. Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, moving on. So here we are, building out the back facade, and it's getting an outline, kind of what I want the walls to look like from the interior, and building out that back facade there throughout a nice balcony. And again, from the street view, I mean, how cool is that from the street view, right? You know that that's your entryway into the food court, which again, different idea. You know, I want it to be different. I want it to feel different. I want it to look different. Not like anything you've ever seen before, because I know I've not seen anything like this before in RCT. Maybe you have. If you have, you know, comment below with a link. I'd love to see what other people have done. You know, I love watching other creators. There's quite a few out there I've been watching. And again, if you're a creator and you're watching this, I'd love to get your feedback or your opinions, or maybe do a collab or something. I don't know. You let me know. But yeah, definitely, you know, connect with me, and I'd love to see your work. You know, send me links to your work, or send me pictures or videos of your work. I'd love to see what you guys are creating out there as well. Again, that's what this is about. This is to share knowledge and share what we bring to the table to elevate and inspire and create different feelings and vibes. That's the whole intention of this, right? We're all locked down, so we might as well enjoy it. You know, you got no choice. So yeah, but here we are building out our second entryway, and I think, don't quote me if I'm wrong, but I think I build out a terrace at every entrance just to mark the entryways. That was my initial intention, actually, but I don't know if I fulfilled it on that final entrance there, but we'll see. We'll see what I did. Look at how cool that looks, you know, just from a guest perspective standpoint. And I love what I throw in here. So now, and I should have went a little bit deeper on this for that walkway. I realized that there's single entry walkways on either side. I would like to have done it double, so it's a little bit thicker, but it is what it is. So I build out the full wall, the first floor of the wall, build out the border, build out the second wall, and I throw the roofs on top right behind. I think this is a technique that I'm going to be using going forward whenever I'm building out any buildings going forward. It's so much easier. I don't get lost in the sauce, and it creates a very magical experience, I think, overall for the guests. And you know, my park rating's $9.99. It's been $9.99 since I started really building out that pirate area, and it only dropped for a little bit, but that was because I had missed a tiny bit of walkway, and my guests were vomiting in it, and it brought down my park rating about 100 points. So I had to fix that, right? And that's something I definitely suggest you guys do. You go back and turn off your scenery, turn off your people, turn off your rides, and turn off your supports. And it'll show you just your walkways and your paths. And you'll be able to identify where your areas of opportunity are with security and with maintenance. So this way you'll consistently have clean paths. You won't have to worry about that park rating dropping. It'll keep the guests flowing into the park, and especially when you're playing with no money, what it does is it keeps a consistent flow of guests. You don't have a dip in your rating, so it stops the people coming in. And then what happens is, because there's no money, your guests stay, they don't leave, right? The only time they leave is when they start to not have fun anymore. And that's something you've got to be really mindful when you're playing with no money. But again, we did the no money because we wanted to go ham on our theming, and that was the intention here. All right, now here we are just throwing in the roof now. Now, again, from the top, it looks so boring. This big brown block, right? So just to be mindful of that. I mean, I would love to throw air conditioning units or stuff like that, but, you know, I'm going to look through my theming tools and kind of the stuff that I have, and let's see what I can figure out to put up there to make it look like air conditioning units and stuff, so it's not so flat. But yeah, as we build out the last of the theming here, here's the end of episode 2. Look at that. Hope you guys enjoy me building out my ghost town. Remember, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and YouTube, Coaster Monkey Studios. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode, and catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks again. Have a great one. Ciao.